Hey, welcome to Aaron Live. It's May 26th, 2020, year of the quarantine. Anyway, I'm doing a short feed today because I really kind of want to promote a few things. But we're also going to take a look at some artwork because I don't want it to be completely dull and boring for you. So I'm not doing any drawing today per se. Maybe I'll get a little bit into some roughs I'm going to show you, and might do a little bit of doodling here and there. But the main purpose, excuse me, as I switch over to my comment section so I can actually see if someone's joined us. My main purpose is to kind of promote, which I guess is essentially my Kit Carter relaunch. Kit Carter is my 50s homage space character, and I've been doing on and off for the past couple of years prints and promotional material for it, and just recently have started, well, when I say recently, I mean like over the last year and a half, maybe 2 years now, you know how time flies, have been doing what I call episodes. They're basically single page vignette stories that are similar to what you might have read years ago as a newspaper strip, or a Sunday newspaper strip in particular. They're formatted in comic book page form as opposed to newspaper shaped form, just for hopefully publication reasons in the future. But I want to take a look at that and talk about a few other things like sketchbooks and so forth, moving on here. So let's see. Oh, we got a few people in. Excellent. Stephen Ng is here. I can always count on him for a few minutes of his time, and I appreciate that greatly, Stephen. Thanks for showing up and joining. As usual, I'm going to start off by pumping this thing up. This has been selling pretty well. I've been really pleased with the response, and I thank all of you that's actually bought one. That's fantastic. If you haven't got one, you got to be asking yourself, why don't I have one of these? This is my raw imagination, 20 years of sketches. It's a hardcover, 64 pages, full color. There's a nice little spine on it. Drawing on the back, logo on the back, which I actually, if you'll notice, I put up in the right-hand corner of the picture. My little Cold Crocodile Press logo. Looks kind of cheap in that white square. I'm gonna have to do some work on that, but you know, it's kind of a last second kind of thing. Anyway, these are available for $25 plus $5 shipping, or you can get a sketch on the inside, which most people are doing, for an additional $20. That's $45 plus $5 shipping. That's in the US. Of course, outside the US, shipping varies drastically. So anyway, if you're interested in one of these things, check with me at any time through any sort of social media outlet I have, which is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. My email is aaron@aaronlopresti.com, which you can see scrolling. Actually, it's my PayPal address, but it's pretty much my address for everything. Let me switch this so that, there we go. Oh, that's still not it. I'm so organized. No, that's not it. Subscribe and like because it's free. That's a great one. I should run that more. Anyway, aaron@aaronlopresti.com, or through my website, you can get a hold of me pretty easily about those sketchbooks. Okay, now let's get to why I've brought you all here today. As you can see on my fancy scroll along the bottom of the screen there, we're going to talk a little bit about Kit Carter. Episode 7 is now up on my website blog. And let me give you a really quick overview of this. This is the first thing that I actually did story-wise for Kit Carter. This is what we call a story print. And this is episode 1 of Kit Carter, full color, dialogue, everything, the whole 9 yards. I made this available for $15 plus $5 shipping, or you get it at a show for $15. And when people bought this print, and there's still some available, it's signed and numbered, limited edition to 250. I allowed people access to a locked web page that ran the first 6 episodes or first 6 strips of Kit Carter for free. So you buy the print for $15, because I had people saying, well, man, I get to download, I get to look at 6 pages of artwork on the internet for $15. That's a ripoff. And I'm like, no, you're paying $15 for the print. What I'm doing is incentivizing you buying the print by allowing you these extra goodies along with it, which are the first 6 episodes in color of Kit Carter. Well, those are all been posted now. So what I wanted to do in second stage is go from episode 7 to probably 12. I haven't got it all mapped out quite yet, exactly how many episodes it'll be, but basically carrying you through most of the Zing the Zealous storyline. And those are going to be available for free on my website, on my blog page, and you can just go there and read them whenever. Episode 7, probably through 12 as I get them posted, but 7 is up right now. Then the whole idea is to generate some interest in the character, see if we can launch a book with all new material. I'll reprint, of course, all the strips that I've done up to that point, but then there'll be a brand new story, and probably will be Kit Carter versus the Astro Zombies will probably be the story that I would most likely do. But anyway, that's kind of the big picture, long-term goal with this. Let's take a look real quick and see who's here and what they're saying. John Smith is here. Hey, John, thanks for joining. Louis Brightraven, wow, it's a video from the future. Oh, did I put the 26th on there? Where did that come from? Oh, well, yeah, it's too late to change it now. So yes, it is a video from the future. I've discovered how to go 4 days into the future. It's not very helpful, but when I can really go into the future, like years and years, or go in the past, I'll let you know. But right now, it's kind of stuck on 4 days, so not really a whole lot has changed. I don't have any, big information for you to reveal what may happen to you in the next 4 days. Man, I tell you, I can't do anything right. How did I get 526 on there? Anyway. John Smith says you'll take 2 if they're free. You can visit as long as you want, John. You can go back as many times as you want because it's free. Nighthawk Warrior has joined us. Hello, Nighthawk. More Duck Dodgers. It's funny. Stephen Ing just posted on his Facebook page a print that I had done, and I don't know, it must have been mid-90s, of Duck Dodgers, and it has Porky Pig as his trusty sidekick and Marvin Martian in it. And it's actually a pretty cool little black and white print that I completely forgot about. I'm going to start digging through my stuff and see if I can find some from way back then. Back then, I didn't have a scanner. I made Xerox copies of everything. So I've got like FedEx boxes full of Xeroxes from back then. So I'm wondering if maybe one of those is tucked away in there. But I had totally spaced about that. It was actually a pretty good print, So I'll have to see if I can dig that up, because I'm a big Bugs Bunny fan. In 1995, Stephen says. Okay, well, that would constitute the mid-90s. Okay, so let's move right along here, and I'm going to take a look at. Let me move the camera down, of course. Okay, this is the Kit Carter episode 7. It is in glorious black and white, because I'm not coloring these until I publish them. It just takes me too much time. Anyway, so this is kind of the finished black and white artwork here. And those of you that are, darn it, stupid autofocus, give me a second here. Boom, okay, that's off. So basically you'll see this posted on my website with a nice little decorative frame around it and the dialogue so you can actually read it. I started inking with a brush on this, like Kit's figure and some of these Krogs. But I later jumped in and did most of the rest of it in pen. I used to be really, how shall we say, uptight. I don't know if that's the right word, but I really took pride in using a brush because it's really hard to use and to get good results out of it. And So I would ink everything with a brush, just basically to prove that I could. And plus, it's the tool I learned to use from like when I was 12 years old. And Warren Montgomery has joined us. He is the letterer on my Kit Carter strips, so he is with us, and I thank him for joining. Does Kit Carter take place in the same universe as Garbage Man? Probably. Well, I was thinking about it's more likely that Kit Carter would take place in the same universe as Power Cubed. And if you haven't seen that, that's a miniseries, a creator-owned miniseries I did through Dark Horse. It's actually in trade paperback now. And because they're both sort of humor strips, and Garbage Man obviously is deathly serious. So I don't know that I would combine both those universes in that sense. But as I move along, who knows? Things can evolve, and my goal at this point is if I'm publishing a Kit Carter book or magazine or something down the road, that I am going to have a backup Garbage Man story in there just to get more of my IPs out there. And I know that there are people that are kind of into Garbage Man and would like to see more of that. The problem is there's not enough of you. Hopefully there'll be enough Kit Carter fans that I can go forward with this project, and then we'll just, we'll take it one project at a time. Goodness knows I have a lot of projects. So hopefully I'll get them all done before I die. But anyway, this is up, and I hope you guys check it out. There's no reason why you wouldn't check it out because it's free. So there's really no reason not to check it out. I have Kit Carter prints available on the website too for order. And, so there's a little bit of Kit Carter stuff floating around out there if you're interested. And I'll hopefully get episode 8 up by next week. It's penciled because episode 8 was originally episode 7. And then I decided I needed kind of a bridge between the two episodes. So I made a new 7, and then 7 became 8. So let's see. Love and Rumba says your artwork is always mind-blowing, Mr. Lopresti. Thank you so much. Let's show that, because when anybody says something that nice to me, I've got to put it up on screen. Thank you for that. Oh, let's do it again. Warren Montgomery says, read episode 7 now. And I mean, I don't know how, much more forceful you can be than that. You really should read it now. Nighthawk Warrior wants to know, when did I create Kit Carter? Boy, pushing 10 years ago now, maybe. It was really just an idea for a sketchbook cover. It was like a faux, what should we say, a 50s sci-fi movie poster, serialized movie poster kind of idea. It was just kind of a joke, and it just sort of got legs. And then I kept doing more and more prints, and then finally got around to actually doing some stories and some panel work and continuity. So all that stuff, again, you guys check out my website. If you have not gone there, go to aaronlopresti.com, and all that stuff is there. So, and it's free to visit. I don't charge you to go to my website. Now I'll charge you to buy something on my website, but I'm not going to charge you to actually go. Nighthawk Warrior says he shared my live stream to his Twitter, and I thank you for that. Speaking of live streams, I'll be going on with Art to Bear. He has a show called The Pontificators at 6 o'clock tonight. So I'll be on there pontificating about something. Let's take a look at some artwork. So I've been pounding you guys with the sketchbooks, the hardcover sketchbooks, because, I'm selling them, and why wouldn't I? But we're going to pull back the curtain a little bit more today and take a look at the sketchbooks that created the art for the sketchbook. This is my latest sketchbook. It's almost full. So I'll be switching over to a new one. These are kind of cool because I get these through Blix, and they have this little thing here that, kind of feels all artsy fartsy. You can take that off and open up the book. Let's see what's on page 1 here. That looks like Captain Jack Sparrow. What is this all about, Aaron? What the heck? Basically, what I use sketchbooks for is I assume what everybody else uses them for, which is to kind of get down ideas for maybe a potential project at some point. And whether or not they ever actually come to fruition, well, you know, that's another thing. But there we go. I had, those of you who have seen some of my ErinCon live videos and actually been to some shows with me are aware of the fact that I did a Jaws movie poster and turned it into basically a print, 11x17 print that's also available on my website. And so I kind of liked how it turned out, and I thought, I want to do some more of these. So I started thinking, well, what if I did a Pirates of the Caribbean one? So I started messing around with some Jack Sparrow ideas here. Warren posted my website blog link there to go and read the Kit Carter. So thank you for that, Warren. So anyway, that's how I started this book. And here's one in blue line. This is another concept idea. This actually, I think, is a pretty solid idea for a movie poster. And I may, I'm probably going to use this one. I like, somebody actually on Instagram sent me a message, said, hey, because I had done this, but I didn't have it with the skull here. And he's like, why don't you put a skull in the sword? And I'm like, wow, that's a brilliant idea. So I'm not saying I stole the guy's idea, but I'm probably going to use it because it actually is quite good. But of course, it has to get from the layout stage to actually doing it. So we'll see. One thing I have is a lot of ideas and a lot of projects, and I try to get as many of them done as I can, but a lot of them end up getting in the sketchbook and never get any farther. Yep, there's another idea for Captain Jack there, blue pencil drawing. Okay, now these are interesting. Those of you who read my, my James Tinian wrote the story, I drew it, the Dark Multiverse Infinite Crisis story that I did that basically featured Blue Beetle. I had to do some concept designs for Blue Beetle once he changed into the, spoiler alert, shall we say, OMAC Blue Beetle, the evil Blue Beetle, maybe. I don't really think he pictured himself as being evil, but it sort of turned out that way. Kind of like a lot of these governors in these states, in these lockdown states, you know, they never really didn't elect them to be evil, but they seem to be turning into that. Anyway, that's a discussion for another time, I guess. But anyway, this was my first concept, because originally the spirit was, or pardon me, the Spectre was supposed to be sort of part of the deal, and then it wasn't. So he had this cape and hood, and still kept him pretty streamlined, you know. And then they wanted him more techy, you know, incorporating Superboy Prime or somebody like that. His costume, along with some techie stuff and some Blue Beetle stuff. And so then I came up with this, and then I said, well, how about losing the cape and, you know, make him a little bit more, you know, scary looking. Hang on a second. Lewis Bright Raven. I've been meaning to ask, how do you pack your 11x17 prints? I've been trying to find a good way to ship mine. I bought from Uline, which is basically a packaging and cardboard supply place. It's in Seattle, so it's actually very close to me. I'm in Portland. I just bought poster tubes, and you just got to print them on stock that's flexible enough that you can roll them without damaging them. I used to have my prints on really heavy stock, and they wouldn't roll, so it cost you $10 to ship them flat, like a piece of original artwork, and you're only charging $15 for them, so it didn't make any sense. But since I've been able to roll them and ship them out in mailing tubes, it costs under $5, under $5, depending on where the people are, to ship, and so it's much more affordable, and I've been selling a lot more over the internet because of that. So to answer your question. Art Rich Studio says, what's up? I say, hey, man. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. What happened? Oh, so this guy wanted a two-piece, two-character commission, Catwoman and Man-Bat. And so that was kind of laying it out before I went and did the commission, so I had an idea of what I wanted to do. So that's what this is. There's Catwoman in blue. It's a pretty nice figure, if I do say so myself, and Man-Bat back there. Of course, these are all in blue pencil. Okay, or light blue Coley Race pencils. Okay, here's the, see if I can adjust this just a little bit. Okay, this ended up being almost the final design for Blue Beetle is he has some tech on his face here and on his arm and stuff, and like he's kind of being overcome by the computer elements. I think, yeah, I sent this off to Lee Weeks, who's going to do the cover, and then Lee Weeks dumped the cape, which was fine. So we went without a cape, but pretty much stayed with this design of the character. And this is all stuff, again, that I did in my sketchbook. Johnny Fitz says, hey, Aaron. And I say, hey to you, Johnny. Thanks for coming by. Okay. Okay, so then the next thing I've been sort of working on, I've got a Captain America print that's almost fully colored, but it's more of a Rogues Gallery Captain America print. This is, let me zoom out a little bit. I had this idea for World War II Captain America fighting these zombie Nazis. So I did a couple of different concepts for that. And then I'm always looking for my next Deja Thoris, John Carter of Mars illustration. So I had this idea for Deja Thoris in the back of a Banth. So that's what that is. Bert says, I noticed you don't use both sides of the pages. Yeah, that's right, Bert, I don't. I don't have anything else to say beyond that. No, I don't, because a lot of times you can see through the paper on this is relatively thin, so you can actually see the drawing through. You probably can't very well here, but yeah, you can see that orange in there a little bit. So it's like I'm not going to be drawing over the top of it because, you know, then I'd be seeing the drawing through both illustrations on either side of the paper. So anyway, it never even occurred to me to draw on the backside. So anyway, so there's another take on that Banth, the Deja Thoris thing. Okay, this was a painting I actually completed. So I actually did complete something out of my sketchbooks. This was for the Emerald City Comic Con, which still hasn't happened yet. They're hoping for August, but I don't know. Anyway, so this turned into this. It's called Monsters and Babes is the book they do. It's a charity auction book for St. Jude's Hospital. And so I did a piece in here, and I wanted to do a painting rather than just traditional black and white colored in Photoshop, which, you know, I normally do. So that was the first go around, and then it became this, where I gave the troll some hair and some bad teeth, and a girl hiding kind of back here on that side of the rock with a knife to protect herself, which I don't know how much good that knife's going to do against a giant troll. But anyway, this is what I ended up using as the finished piece and painting, and the painting's actually done. And I posted it. I know I posted it several times on Facebook and Twitter, but hopefully if the show actually goes on, it'll actually get, well, I would imagine it's already printed in the book because they would have had to print the book way before the show. So it's in the Monsters and Dames book this year. How they're going to end up distributing those, I have no idea at this point. This was just kind of a fun little troll drawing. This ended up actually in the hardcover sketchbook. So did actually that other blue line I just showed you. This was an idea for a cave girl and some, you know, ape men attacking her, and it just, you know, got about this far, and that's it. Those actually I did in a sepia pencil and then regular pencil over the top. This is actually the cover to my hardcover sketchbook. Let's do a side-by-side comparison because it's, you know. So actually what I did was I colored this. I scanned this. I actually did a watercolor painting of it, and I didn't like how it turned out. So I scanned this blue, turned it to sepia tone brown, and then in Photoshop did sort of like some painting color over the top of it. And that's how I came up with this cover. But this is actually reproduced in the sketchbook, in this hardcover, in the blue line. So, all right, this is also in the sketchbook. This was, I actually did this as sort of a Sketchbook tour, yeah. This is actually was one of the concepts I came up with the cover for the sketchbook that I rejected because I just didn't like, I don't know why I didn't like how it looked on the cover. Just the layout maybe didn't really work as well for me as a cover image, but this is in the sketchbook as well. Mermaid with the creature from the Black Lagoon. You can't beat that combo. Gollum, and then one of those dudes on the horseback from Lord of the Rings. What are those things called? Ring wraiths? Something like, no, those are the guys on the dragons. What were these guys called? I don't know, wraiths or something. But anyway, so I got a whole section in the book on in my hardcover with Lord of the Rings stuff in it, so it's in there someplace. This, I don't know, just some girl I drew for the heck of it. Thanks, Johnny. I appreciate it. Thank you, Art Rich. I appreciate it, you guys. These were, I had, I found myself doing this sometimes for the hardcover sketchbook was, I had some images I wanted to use, but then I didn't really have any like images to fill in sort of the gaps around those bigger images. So I created a Rosie the Riveteer and an Uncle Sam drawing to go in the sketchbook in here to fill in a few small gaps on some of the pages there that thematically had a bunch of Uncle Sam stuff and Rosie stuff on it. So this is the Conan drawing I did for the title page. And I want to zoom in on this a little bit and take a look at this. See how close I can get. This is all done in pen, and for what you can see, I hope you can see, it's very, for me, it's very loose and sketchy looking, but I did it that way because, well, quite frankly, it's going in a sketchbook, right? And I wanted to create more of a, I mean, I love the look of this. It's more Frazetta-like. Those of you familiar with Frazetta, let's see if we can get in here a little bit. You can see kind of the looseness of this. I mean, compared to what I normally do in comics. And I really enjoy that look, but I don't know that it's necessarily appropriate for, I guess I was doing a Conan comic, which I have done. It would work better than, say, a superhero book, but I also have to sort of ink it myself to kind of get that look as opposed to expecting an inker to do it. So that's why you see a look like this maybe in my sketchbook, but you're not going to necessarily see it in my Justice League pages. There's some more Rosie stuff. That was just a quick, this is also in the sketchbook, Red Riding Hood. And it, I had some other Red Riding Hood material, and again, I needed a piece to go in there, so I created this for it. So there's a lot of stuff in the sketchbook that, in the hardcover sketchbook, that have just never been seen in print before, that in some cases I did specifically for that book. This was another concept sketch for possibly a different cover. I didn't love it too much, but then I did this, and I really liked this one. So I went ahead and finished it and colored it. And I really went back and forth for a long time on whether I was going to use this as the cover or not for the sketchbook. And talking to people like Terry Dodson, some other artist friends of mine, I kept getting their comments and what they thought about it. So I eventually went with the other one, but this is actually reproduced in the book full color as well. There's another piece that's in the book, kind of a Jack the Ripper, Mr. Hyde, something like that. Piece that's in there. There's some real nice subtle color on the girl's face that you can't see in this video very well, but it's in the book. Little swamp creature, very reminiscent of Swamp Thing. I used part of this. I think I used the Nordic guy in my sketchbook. But I get these ideas for stuff and I just kind of run and draw them. And then sometimes they become something else and sometimes they never do. This I actually combined with the girl with the spear. this one. So I put that Pteranodon up here in front of the sun. That actually put those two together right there to give that a little bit of background element. And that's how it's reproduced in the book, is I've combined both those together. Here I'm back to work on that Captain America idea. Oh, there's another Captain America pose, trying to figure out exactly what pose I wanted him in. Hey, a little garbage man piece, just for the heck of it. A couple of headshots there of our good friend Garbage Man. This were concept art for a beer label that I was doing, that I worked on. There's a Santa Claus Garbage Man, you know, Christmas special. Let's see, that's no good. That's no good. Okay, I had this other concept years ago for another sort of parody movie poster print. It's called Prehistoric Cave Girls in Trouble. And so I don't know, it popped into my mind the other day. And so I did kind of a rough layout of maybe what, you know, and down here it would say Prehistoric Cave Girls in Trouble, rated R or whatever, in color, you know, whatever. So who knows, maybe someday I'll finish that. I can't go too long before I draw an elf or a troll or something just for my own recreational purposes, and that's pretty much what that was. That probably inspired by me watching the Dark Crystal series on Netflix. Another troll dude. That's what I do for recreation to entertain myself, is draw stuff like this in my sketchbook. That's more of the beer logo stuff. Here's a page full of thing sketches. Don't ask me why, but there they are. A little Ben Grimm action. Very Skeksis. It is. They were very Skeksis. That's kind of was the influence. Something really ugly and lumpy. Okay, this stuff is Justice League stuff, so I can't show you that. You have to buy the comic. 48, 49, and 50, by the way. I know 50 comes out in August. I have no idea when 48 and 49 come out. I don't know if they're still doing those bi-weekly or if they've gone to monthly or whatever. But look for my Justice League issues are 48 and 49. 50 is a giant size, or I can't even think. Is a double issue. So 50 is like 38 pages. So it's like 2 issues. But anyway, so I've got those 3 issues, 4 really. And then I'm doing a Justice League annual after that, which I don't know when that comes out. Probably September, October. Nighthawk Warrior says, Garbage Man should be a comic book already. It should be, but I have to have people that are willing to buy it. I can't just do it. And I didn't get enough people to support it on the Indiegogo to do it, at least in the version I was planning on doing. That doesn't mean I won't do it, but we'll just have to see what shakes out here in the next couple months. I had to do, I think I did this at Christmas time, I don't know. But there's some Grinch drawings, sort of. Peter DeSev did some Grinch drawings. He's the guy who did the character designs for Ice Age and Robots and other movies of that ilk. And also he's a big-time cover artist for New Yorker magazine. But anyway, he had done some Grinch sketches, and I thought those are really cool. And it's got me thinking, because this is like one of my favorite, it is my favorite Christmas special. And so kind of based on his sort of wild take on the character, and then Chuck Jones, and then, you know, my take on the character, I came up with these. I would love to do an adaptation of The Grinch Who Stole Christmas in comic book form. I did this old cowboy just for the heck of it. Okay, I got one more thing to show you, and that's this. Now, this is interesting for a couple of reasons. I mean, this all, you know, looks like Jack Sparrow and that, you know, some guy coming out of the hull, H-U-L-L, of the boat. And the funny thing is on this, let me zoom in on this, because actually this creepy guy is kind of cool. But we got to get him close enough so we can actually see him. I was going through Pinterest and just randomly, and I saw this image that looked like something like this. It was small, it's like a thumbnail. And it looked like a pirate or, a colonial dude with a lantern and this monster creepy thing coming out of, a tree or something, right? And I went, wow, that's a really cool image. Well, I clicked on it and blew it up, and that's not what it was at all. I mean, it wasn't even close to what I was seeing. It's like you look into a cloud and you see something, and someone else is going, what are you talking about? I don't see that. But because the image was super small, and that's what I saw. And then I blew it up, and that's not what it was at all. I can't remember what it was, but it was nothing like this. And so then I thought, well, that's a pretty good idea. So I started drawing it because I thought, oh, I could make a print out of this or something else. It would be really, really cool. And so I did it. And then as I started drawing it and looking at it, I was like, wait a minute. This was a scene in one of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. So here I thought it had this brilliant original concept. And I was like, wait a minute. I have seen this before. So anyway, I used the pirate kind of looks like, Jack Sparrow, because as I was fleshing him out, I was kind of like, obviously everybody's going to think it's pirates, even if it isn't pirates. So I might as well make it pirates. But I still really like this idea. I think this could be a really cool image. If you do some lighting effects back here with this lantern and everything, and a big cast shadow back here and some heavy blacks back here, it could be really, really cool looking. So if I get some time, I'll actually do it. But this is a pretty elaborate sketch, as you can see. It was based on a bunch of false pretenses, but actually turned out to be a fairly decent idea, I think. I guess I can. Oh, and I started working on this this thing. Again, somebody had contacted me. Let's do something with this. It's like stuck in limbo and I need to finish it. Somebody had contacted me. They wanted a sketchbook, and they wanted the sketch of Deet, who was the little white-haired elf girl from the Dark Crystal series on Netflix. So I did that, and it was actually kind of cool. I probably should have done it online so you guys could see it, because it turned out pretty cool. But then it got me thinking about, creepy little elf dudes. And so I started working on this, and it was kind of like I took the concept, basic idea of, whenever you're coming up with an alien or a creature, it's always going to be based sort of on something. A lot of people base them on bugs or things like that are really creepy looking. This is kind of based on a fish. Oops. This is kind of based on a fish. And then I just kind of started going with it beyond that. I have no idea where this is going or even if it's going to be worthwhile, but since I already started it, let's do a little work on it and see if we can turn it into something of value. Let's see, you could turn that into a Green Lantern facing a Yellow Lantern fear monster construct. Man, that is like too deep in the weeds for me. I don't even know what that means. I didn't really keep up on all that Green Lantern stuff when you have the Yellow Lanterns and the Black Lanterns and just based on my personal tastes, I'd much rather do a pirate drawing than than a Green Lantern drawing. But the real question is, will I actually ever do anything with it beyond what I just showed you? I don't know. I do have a fantasy fantasy comic strip. I've actually written the first issue series, and I do need more creatures like this in it. So that's one of the main reasons I was messing around with this to begin with. I mean, obviously it was because I just did the Dark Crystal drawing, but that made me think, well, you know what, I need some characters for this other series that I'm developing. So I thought, well, let's see what happens if I do this. And I'm just basically using a 0.1 here micron to do this fine line work. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit here. Okay, that would be zooming out. You know, the interesting thing with working on this live stream, I use StreamYard, is that by putting all these banners up, it like limits, you know, my actual open space here that I can show the drawing in. So I got to kind of fit this into a tighter window. I really would have loved to work at Henson's Creature Shop when they were, you know, back before CGI, when so much of this stuff was, I mean, everything was practical effects, and they were creating all this stuff that would have just been really quite a blast, I would think. My son did a internship at Legacy Special Effects, so I got to go in there a couple times, and they're still doing a ton of practical effects in there. But that was really cool to go in there and, you know, and see some of these guys sculpting stuff and then putting together these weird creatures and all the tubes, you know, running out of them to control their facial expressions and things like that. It was really, I got to go in there 2 or 3 times. So I was hoping my son would actually start working there, but they didn't pay enough. So he actually has a job as a real engineer. But I did, he was there for 6 months. So I made a few trips down to Burbank and got to go in there and pull the curtain back a little bit, which was quite a blast for someone like me. And thankfully, a lot of those guys are comic book fans. So when they found out I was a comic book artist, they gave me a little bit more, how should we say, royal treatment that I probably wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Am I a Captain Blood Errol Flynn fan? I am. Johnny Fitz says, I have to head out. Sorry, man. I'm just not having a good day today. Sorry. See you next time, Johnny. Thank you for stopping by, though. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I would say I'm a huge Errol Flynn fan, but I, you know, I know of the movie of which you speak. I think that stuff is fun. I became more of a pirate fan with Pirates of the Caribbean because it was just so, it was so much what you wanted a pirate film to be, you know, more of the monster element and stuff than just the swashbuckling adventure. There was a movie in the 70s, I want to say. I think it was just called Pirate, and it had Jack Nicholson and Walter Matthau in it. No, I'm sorry. It had Walter Matthau in it. It was supposed to have Jack Nicholson as the lead, and he opted out, so they got Walter Matthau to replace him, which, you know, so Walter Matthau ended up being the lead pirate. And, you know, Walter Matthau is grumpy and scraggly and everything, but he certainly doesn't have the same type of charisma that Jack Nicholson did. So you can imagine that movie did not do well. And it didn't. But I'm pretty darn sure it's called Pirate. So, and I never went and saw it because it bombed so bad and got such bad reviews that I never actually made it out to see it. But I should look that up and see if it's as bad as they say, or if it just did not perform well at the box office. All right, so now this is sort of becoming something a little bit more, there's a little more depth to it. But you can see, you know, one of the reasons I love drawing monsters and creatures so much is because you've got so much leeway. You can just kind of do whatever you want, make them all bumpy and grizzled and ugly looking. And, you know, people go, wow, that's beautiful. Is it really, though? It is interesting, though. But just the freedom to kind of draw whatever you want to draw. I mean, sometimes they look really dumb. Like this may actually look kind of dumb, but sometimes you come up with some stuff that's really pretty cool. This actually kind of looks like those podlings from Netflix, from the Netflix series, except much uglier. I think the podlings are ugly, but they're not this ugly. Oh, Nighthawk. Okay, man. Thanks for coming by. When people start dropping out, it's kind of like at the, you've had the party going for about an hour, and then people start turning on the TV, and the first person says, "Well, I gotta get out of here, man." And then then it goes like dominoes, and within 5 minutes, you have nothing left of your party. The great thing about these is, people can come in and tune in anytime and check this out. So there's only about 13 to 15 people here right now. Certainly not getting Ethan Van Sciver numbers, am I? Of course, I'd probably have to start insulting people and ripping on Star Wars to get a bigger audience, but and I can rip on Star Wars because I thought all the new movies sucked, but I don't live and die by Star Wars. I'm a Star Trek guy. And when I see a bad Star Trek movie, that frustrates me more than a bad Star Wars movie does. Okay, this is getting wonderfully gnarly. Now this is a sketch that's worth being in the sketchbook, right? You have to put enough into them to actually make them, interesting. Maybe I can use this now. Keep the old fish look. I don't know. Maybe this is an old woman, an old fish-looking woman. And my heroes come to her and ask for some sort of, sagely advice, or she talks about the future or something. But again, the fun with the sketchbooks, man, is just, I'm just letting loose. You can just kind of scribble and have fun. If it doesn't work out, you really haven't lost anything except a little bit of time, but it's a great way to work out concept designs. Now, of course, I'm sort of letting you watch me do this, so therefore, if I screw it up, everybody knows. I can't hide it. But I think it's turning out okay, at least for what it is. And what it is that's a good question. I'm not really sure exactly what this is, but there it is. Are you a Lord of the Rings fan, Aaron? Yes, I am. I even remember watching the Ralph Bakshi version in 1978, the animated film. I just love that stuff, and because the main reason is because I grew up in the 70s. I mean, I was born in the 60s, but I really didn't, I was in first grade in 1971. So I sort of grew up in the 70s and had just such a large amount of exposure to Frazetta. And this is the kind of stuff that Frazetta did. He was doing Lord of the Rings stuff. He's doing fantasy stuff. He was doing Conan stuff. And he was such a major influence early on in my career that I just, it just got ingrained in me. And I, as much as a superhero fan as I am, I'm really more of a fan of this type of stuff, fantasy stuff, which is frustrating to me because no one buys it. There was a short period of time in the 70s, when Barry Smith was doing Conan, Wrightson was on Swamp Thing, Plug was doing, Man Thing and some other stuff, Werewolf by Night. Frazetta was doing, book covers in this he did his Lord of the Rings portfolio, which I believe that was 1974. and then followed that up with his Kubla Khan portfolio in 75, which again was sort of sword and sorcery stuff. There was a lot of Conan stuff going around at the time. So that stuff, the sword and sorcery, the fantasy stuff, was really popular for about 5 years. And then it went away. And Sharon Marlowe, hi Aaron, hi Sharon, thanks for dropping in. So I still have a really big love for that stuff. In fact, let me show you something real quick. I have such a love for it. I probably did this before, but see those 2 pages right there? The one on the left is from Marvel Premiere number, I want to say 38. It was a Weird World story. That was the black and white one up there. That was Plug, inked by Alex Nino, Doug Mensch story. So he had a series called Weird World that was basically elves. It was kind of a Lord of the Rings ripoff. And then Marvel did this full color magazine called Warriors of the Shadow Realm, which was drawn by Buscema, inked by Nebres, and hand colored by Peter Ledger. And those were some of my favorite things. Those were in about 1977 through 79-ish. And so obviously I grabbed a couple of original pages from those. The one in color here from the Warriors of the Shadow Realm, that's actually colored on the board. It's not an overlay. So they would pencil and ink the page and then send it to the colorist, Peter Ledger, who then painted the coloring on the original art. So that's a pretty cool thing. But anyway, that's the kind of stuff that was like big influence on me growing up. And so I still have a love for that stuff, even though, and a lot of people do in fiction, it seems like, but it doesn't seem to translate in comics. It's this total superhero or bust environment that we're in. And that's fine, because like I said, I love good superhero stuff, but there's also other really fun, and from my standpoint, as an artist, more illustrative subject matter to be done. And it's just really hard getting the reader support to, do a lot of that stuff, or even do a small amount on a regular basis. So anyway, well, let's call this good. My little fish lady, or whatever the heck, fish troll person. So there we go. That was some recreational drawing. Shockingly, I'm not going to draw in my sketchbook today because I don't have any current sketchbook orders right now. So what are you going to do? Sharon says, cool, love the artwork. Thank you, Sharon. I appreciate it. Did you watch The Witcher? I thought it was good. I have not seen that. My wife watched it. She was kind of mixed on it. I don't really watch much TV. I'm literally drawing all the time. I have so many projects in my mind. I mean, right now I've got my paying gig, which is Justice League. I'm going to turn this back on me here in a second before I tune out. You can see a little of my studio hidden back there. Yeah, I don't really, I'm working on the Kit Carter stuff. I've got the Garbage Man stuff I work on. I've got my Justice League stuff that I'm actually getting paid to work on. I've got prints that I'm trying to get ready for the convention that'll never happen, but at least it's going to be I'm going to do a virtual con here in the second week of June, I think, as soon as I finish this Justice League commitment. And right now my deadlines are just intense, trying to get this thing done in time. So I think my deadline on this Justice League issue is June 10th. And after that, a few days after that, I'll be doing Aaron Con. So I'm trying to get that Captain America print done by the time I do the con. And so, yeah, it's a lot of guys get one idea and they focus on that one idea and they just produce that one idea, like Eric Larson and Savage Dragon, for example, right? Or Mignola and Hellboy, and of course he has, Lobster Johnson and Screw on Head, but he hasn't really done those regularly, like he's, as much as he's done Hellboy. I just have like 8 to 10 what I think are really interesting ideas, whether they're good or not. But I like them, and I think they're interesting. So they're things I want to do. So it's like it's really hard for me to focus on one thing and just say, okay, I'm going Garbage Man for the next 5 years, or I'm going to go Kit Carter for the next 5 years. So I'm trying to figure out what is going to garner the most interest from fans and readers that could actually allow me to do something independent, and then go from there. But it's definitely a work in progress for me. Sharon doesn't like The Witcher. She says no. Louis Breyer, and it's funny, they just don't really make good S&S comics, Sword and Sorcery, to buy these days. I get whatever I can find. Sword of Ages, Ragnarok by Simonson, of course. Yeah, I think there's a hardcore audience, but I don't think it's a big audience, and that's the problem. Doing stuff through Kickstarter or Indiegogo gives you an opportunity to get a project out to a smaller audience that where you wouldn't be able to do it through Marvel or DC or even through Image or some of these other publishing venues. That's for sure. But doing Kickstarter and Indiegogo is all dependent on exposure and getting the word out. And so that's one of the reasons I do these live feeds. That's one of the reasons I keep cutting my chin off. That's one of the reasons I do these things, and is just to get more exposure so that when I do bring out a new concept or a new project, that hopefully you guys will check it out, and then you'll tell some friends and they'll check it out. Like I said, that's the goal with Kit Carter. I mean, I'm making it free right now, so it's, I don't know how much easier it is to access free. So hopefully that will get a little buzz going, and we'll see if I can do something with Kit Carter. And then if I can, hopefully that'll springboard to some other things, and we'll just, take it one day at a time, as they say. Anyway, I'm going to head out. That's all I've got for you. If you're interested, like I said earlier, I'm going to be an Art to Bears show at 6 tonight called Pontificators. It's also a YouTube show. I don't have any idea what we're going to be talking about. So it'll be an adventure for me as well. But anyway, again, you guys, thanks for coming by, and thanks for checking it out. And I will do another one next week, maybe to launch Kit Carter episode 8. Let's hope. Keep my fingers crossed that I can get that done by next week sometime. So anyway, thanks for joining me. I'll catch you guys later. Boom.